What's up, y'all? It's your boy Primus, and it was either last night or the night before. I released a video on telling you the best DPS and the worst DPS in a scale from S, A, B, C, D for raids for Abers. And tonight I am going to give y'all rankings on Mythic Plus DPS. Now, so Mythic Plus, like rating, it falls under two categories. All right, AOE and single target. Rating is mostly single target. Now we're going to be based on AOE and survivability in case of tank mess ups or healer needs to own the heal tank. So same as last time, there's no F tier. It only goes through D all the way to S. We have a lot of A's. A lot of them. So we're going to start off with the lowest, obviously, which is D, which is Beast Mastery Hunter. Beast Mastery Hunter right now is the worst class and is the only class that's very bad for Mythic Plus. Now, I've looked at Icy Veins to get some clearance on it, and just looking at their stats, I went to Raider.io and seeing who's the top Beast Mastery Hunter and how good they've done. And just to be curious, their rating, but we're not looking at rating right now, so rating, like the raid, not rating. It sounds the same. So, and I've looked at it in 10.0 and 10.05. Beast Mastery had the best single target in the game so far. That was until they received some nerfs in the patch cycle. They no longer have, let me look at it, I've jotted down on some docs. They don't have no more Nelthrax, Enemy of the Sky, which basically what that does is it auto attacks an enemy, grants you 10% increase auto attack damage, stacking 5 times. This bonus resets upon auto attacking a different target. And that it's not a trinket, it's a bow. Just to clarify on that. So that's basically why that was their best bow, and it's a weaker tier set for their hunters. And hold on, I'm trying to think. What was it? I think I'm thinking about marksmanship, but ooh. Yeah, okay, no, I'm thinking of the right thing. Apparently, the utility for Beast Mastery is the worst in Season 2 Mythic Plus. They just don't bring a lot to the table. Like, I think their pet has a lust, and that's it. I'm not totally sure. I haven't played or spec'd into Beast Mastery. And you have to find the right pet and spec that pet into the right skill until you get lust. I think that's the deal. So, and also its defense in Season 2 is horrible. You know, like if a debuff gets on them, they will die quickly. And yes, you can say, okay, well, aspect of the turtle, survival of the fittest, fortitude of the bear, you know. But eventually you'll run out of those options, and then you'll die, which will reduce the time to time it, and it will give people the urge to leave. Especially if you're trying to do Beast Mastery in higher level, like 23s. And let me check real quick on Raider.io to see if Beast Master has even gotten into the 20s because of how bad they are. let's see. Mythic Plus. Spec. Hunter, yeah. Alright, let's look at Beast Mastery. Okay. They have. The highest so far is a 24. Not bad at all. But, the thing about this is, like I said, you have to have the right weapon. And this weapon is the best weapon in the game, which is very hard to get. Other people might not have it, so they'll rely on what they get in the vault. And yeah, that's good, but it's not always about the weapon. It's about the defense, and the defense is horrible. So I've talked too much on Beast Mastery. Sorry for the long thing for it. So that's the only class for D. So I mean that's good that we only have one horrible class. So next in the C range we have Affliction Warlock, Arcane Mage, and Survival Hunter. Just for laughs and giggles, let's go to Survival Hunter. So Survival Hunter strength is mostly heavily relied on Mongoose Bite. Mongoose Bite, it attempts to sever the target's limbs with a brutal attack that deals 0 physical damage and grants the Moongoose Fury. Moongoose Fury increases Moongoose Bite damage by 50% for 14 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. Successive attacks do not increase duration. And with Mongoose Bite being one of the best redeeming qualities the Survival Hunter has, you have a heavily question for their ability to do a lot of AoE damage. The question is how to get the good AoE. And basically for that is the ability Wildfire Bomb. Hurl a bomb at the target, exploding for 57% of attack power. Fire damage in the cone and coating enemies in wildfire, scorching them for 114% of attack power fire damage over 6 seconds. It's a good AoE. And it has an 18 sec recharge. So, yeah. But it also reduces the CD of the Wildfire Bomb if you get it. Ultimately, the base damage of survival on AoE, it holds back into survivability. Without the survivability, it don't matter the AoE. If you can't survive it, you can't do the damage. So that's Survival Hunter. Next, we're going into the Arcane Mage. Arcane Mage burst damage is one of the highest range DPS so far we've seen. Arcane is quite powerful with similar defensive for frost and fire mages. They have Prismatic Barrier, greater invisibility, alter time, mirror image, and ice block, which are all super strong and which all specs really highly rely on in Mythic Plus or even rating. The big downside of Arcane Mage though is its cooldowns on its abilities. Like in most dungeons, it requires quick casting. But the thing for, like I said, Arcane Mage is it's very slow, and you won't be able to do a lot of damage. Such as an example, I've looked at it and Googled. Watcher Iridius from the Halls of Infusion, or Embryon in Uldaman. That's just a few of them. Yeah, basically that's pretty much the only problem. Its survivability is awesome because of the abilities, and the real problem is the cooldowns. If the cooldowns weren't so bad, I could see it having an A spot, perhaps an S, if we get a little bit more info on how much DPS they put in. So that's Arcane Mage. Next, and our last one for C is Affliction Warlock. Now, Affliction, it has a pretty Nike spec. Alright, so it does decent in both categories, AoE and single. But you'll end up in a situation where you have to hold on, I'm looking at it, sorry. So basically that's the only thing that brings it into the C tier, is it does mediocre on both sides. What we need in Mythic Plus is not mediocre on both sides. We need not mediocre, but better AoE. We don't care about single target. We need AoE. Yeah, you have to have decent mediocre for the boss, but Mythic Plus is mostly getting to the boss. Alright, so that finishes off for C. We're heading into the B tier, and we got a lot, not a lot, but so far the most specs. So what we have is Unholy Death Knight, Frost Mage, Windwalker Monk, Havoc Demon Hunter, Arms Warrior, Assassination Rogue, Marksmanship Hunter, and Frost Death Knight. First, we're going to go ahead and look at the Frost DK. Frost DK seems like it's a bit better tier if you spec into the talent Obliteration, and which really it's a and I don't really know what it is, honestly. I never done it. It's a basically it's like a buff, really, and it builds over the Breath of Cindergrosa, which is a y'all have seen it, and it looks cool, don't it? It looks like an ice dragon come out of nowhere and just breathes ice all over you. Very deadly in PvP, by the way. So their damage is not as impressive for the S and A tiers above them, but it's a solid third DPS option. Additionally, it interacts with Incorporeal or Inflicted, the affixes. It deals good with it. It don't. No, my bad. It does not do well with those two affixes, and it is a hindrance on your place in the DPS meter, because you don't want to be. Trust me, I've tried out. I main tank, and people get very ugly in chat when they see a DPS lower than the tank. So, yeah, you need to be up, above me. But yeah, that's basically it. It's pretty good in Mythic Plus if it received damage buffs. So if you just like, here are some of the abilities they have. They have Death Grip, Abomination Limb, Blinding Sleep, Industrious Chill, Anti-Magic Zone. They're all pretty good for Mythic Plus. Their survivability is honestly from Death Strike, also Anti-Magic Shell, Icebound Fortitude, and Veteran of the Fourth War. Makes them pretty sturdy. So yeah, that's basically the Frost DK. They're not bad, really. It's just they need to not survive, but handle those two affixes, Incorporeal and Afflicted, better, and they could see their spots in the A/S tier. Next, we're moving on to Marksmanship Hunter. It's similar to the Beast Mastery. Their problem is their defensive is not very good. If you can't defend yourself or survive, you ain't gonna be putting in no DPS, which will get you kicked. But it says here, from an article I read, it says Hunter is severely lacking, so I'm guessing they don't have it, which I would have thought these would have been in all specs, but it says they're lacking fortitude of the bear, survival of the fittest, aspect of the turtle, and exhilaration. I'm going to have to look at a trial character or a leveled up character I've had of a hunter and see what the problem is. Because I really thought aspect of the turtle is in all specs, but I guess it's not. Or maybe it's not as big as the Beast Mastery. And it's the same with Beast Mastery. Its utility is not good. It's not. Don't bring it up to the table. Like I said, same situation with Beast Mastery. You could find a specific pet, spec that specific pet into a specific trait, and then you get your lust. And that's pretty much all you got. Next, Assassination Rogue. And I'm very interested in the Assassination Rogue because I have one. Well, I used to main it. Now I'm running into the Outlaw. Like, you can't tell me that 2 freaking swords and you're invisible don't look cool. Like, come on. So, Assassination has mediocre of AoE. Its power of Garrote and improved Garrote and Shrouded Suffocation, it pulls it up to mediocre. Blizz really wants you to get back into stealth after you pull and you drop out of combat. But, yeah, it has a very strong utility, by the way, and defensive, such as Feint, Cloak of Shadows, Evasion, in addition to the Rogue kit. They also have access to Iron Wire, Garrote, which, it silences up to 8 mobs for 6 seconds, and it could also be chained with a Pressing Roar. The damage is not spectacular. The Rogue kit itself is so potent that Assassination finds itself in B tier. So, next we're up with Frost Mage. So Frost Mage overall damage is a bit worse than Fire so far. Frost attempts to aim towards not so far as into the AoE department, but more into the single target. So, you don't want to count on Frost Mages to do a lot of AoE. Though they are in B tier for 2 reasons. Their single target for bosses, and their ability to stun and slow other mobs during a fight, which brings some good I was about to say something, bring to the table. It's good for them, and it's good for the whole group. Slows them down a good bit. So you could even stun them for a few seconds in Ice Block if you want to. I'm pretty sure. I've never done a mage. But the biggest upside for the spec for its survivability is Ice Barrier, Greater Invisibility, Ultra Time Mirror Image, and Ice Block. That's the 5 main survivability abilities they have. Next is Unholy Death Knight. Its survivability is strong. It's the strongest out of all DPS. DK. But its damage is too Nike to be any higher than B. That's why they're in B. If their damage wasn't so Nike, they could have seen an A. Very rare for an S tier though. It does a lot more damage the bigger pull they have. It has strong defensive cooldowns. You need to. These are Wait, hold on. Sorry. Because of the what the world? Hold on, sorry. Sorry, I skipped a whole spec. Can you believe that? We were supposed to go into Arms Warrior. Now, before my first year playing WoW, I've mained and I didn't do other classes. I didn't do nothing. It was all Arms Warrior. because I was like, I believe it was a human. I was like, I was buff. I had a big 200x, and I was swinging at everything. Till I was introduced to Prot, Warrior. How that changed my view on WoW. It received a few buffs since 10.1 and 10. Not 10.1, 10.0 and 10.05 cycle. That pushed them higher into the previous tier. If it wasn't for those buffs, they would have been below. They also had played in some very specific compositions that benefited them greatly. Whenever they were put in positions to excel, they definitely could grab it. But there are some problems with arms, even over Fury, such as they lose effective 4 talents in every general stat tree that Fury does not, which results you in losing better immunity and pending victory, so you lose a decent amount of survivability and utility choices to play arms. Good DPS, but survivability-wise, because of what they did, it's just not doing it. So, but that's basically Arms Warrior. I don't really got much else to say about it. In regards to their AoE versus single target builds, they need to play dungeons when many specs do not lose as much. Not lose as much. So, next we have Havoc Demon Hunter. Now, I'm actually very confused right now, because if y'all don't remember, last season, they were the best in raiding and Mythic Plus and PvP. Not so much PvP, I think. That's a total guess on PvP. But raiding and Mythic Plus, they were. So, Havoc, yeah, that's what I just said. Havoc dropped off since Season 2 released. With recent buffs and debuffs, they've went down. Sorry, talking a lot. So this spec is hard to explain. Really? Okay, there's nothing really wrong with Havoc. I'm not totally sure on why they dropped. I've looked at Raider Dilo, Icy Veins, Wowhead, and I've looked at the people on who played the spec. But ultimately, I can't give you a lot of information for this. But yeah, sorry, it's just Havoc Demon Hunter. Like, I've looked at the. Let's look real quick. Right. Demon Hunter. Wait, oops. Yeah. The highest right now is a 26 for him. And yeah. You got me beat. I don't know. I would have thought that would have been S tier. I can tell you some of the advantages that bring them up here. Chaos Brand, it gives them high DPS. With being that you should be able to get a more average Chaos Brand value. Combining Blur and the passive damage reductions that Demon Hunters have from Will of the Illidari and Illidari Knowledge themselves, healing via Soul Rending and Darkness make Havoc virtually unkillable, if well. So I think the problem with Havoc Demon Hunter is the only thing that really brings the DPS towards him is Chaos Brand, but they have godly defensibility. So yeah, that's what I gotta say about Havoc Demon Hunter. Next and our last spec 4B before we head into the good ones is Windwalker Monk. So Windwalker is basically a walking tank in a DPS spec because it has access to Touch of Karma, Fortifying Brew, Dampen Harm, and Diffusive Magic. They're all super and phenomenal. I always get that word mixed up. I'm just gonna say super defensive, but most people are. It's just so easy to play. Actually, they'll leave 2 abilities and not even spec into or even put on their action bar, like Leg Sweep and Ring of Peace. No, I got that mixed up. Leg Sweep and Ring of Peace is the most of their use. But yeah, that's basically it right there. So, who is it?
Me.
I told you to go.
Are you almost done?
No, I'm not. Alright, so, sorry about that. Now we're going into A tier. Now, A tier has the most specs, and I'm very, very disappointed that I drank all my water already, because this is going to be a lot of talking. Alright, be prepared. So far, we have Elemental Shaman, Destruction Warlock, Demonology Warlock, Subtly Rogue, Fury Warrior, Feral Druid, Ret Pally, Outlaw Rogue, Devastation Evoker, Enhancement Shaman, Balance Druid, Fire Mage. 11 specs in this tier, and we're starting off things with Elemental Shaman. Elemental Shaman. Hold on, let me look at it again. Yeah. Alright, so Elemental Shaman has improved since the first season. Their AoE is at point. Their single target for bosses is at point. It's a little bit worse in some potential situations, but not by a lot. That's why they're an A tier. Survivability is not bad because they have Nature's Guardian, Astral Shift, and Earth Elemental. But it isn't top tier for some other reasons. The utility it brings is Bloodlust, Thundershock, and Earthquake. Ancestral Guidance for the healing. Its utility is a strong suit, but not top tier either for Mythic Plus. Wind Shear is also quite valuable in the ranged department. But yeah, that's basically Elemental Shaman for you. Really good at a single target, AoE, utility, and defensive mediocre. Sorry. Alright. New class, new specs. Devastation Evoker, Season 2. I have a lot to say about this one. It's a potential candidate for bringing Bloodlust to the dungeon. The overall damage of the spec is mediocre. But if strong target pulls, it's very strong. Like what was it? Frost? It was either Unholy or Frost Decay. On top of this, their single target is very potent because of their mastery, Giant Killer. As a reverse execute also allows them to particularly strong up front damage. It's really good with Wing, Buffet, I don't know, and Tail Swipe for a displacement. It also has Suppressing Roar, which can extend the duration of CC effects, or can be used for AoE Enrage Dispel for raging weeks. Zephyr for party damage reduction and cauterizing flame dispels are all very strong. Ultimately, the damage is why they are in 8 tier, and if you see them in a raid, they are even stronger. Destruction Warlock. Destruction Warlock, not much to say. It's very good in AoE, DPS. Their stuns are pretty good, to be honest. It's Blasphemy, Summon Infernal, and it's like Curse of the Tongue, Shadow Fury, Fury for Incorporeal. Uh, Imp, Dispel, Purge are all pretty good qualities from this destruction. On top of that, the spec is unkillable with Unrunning Dissolve and Dark Pact. So, like I said, not a lot for the spec. It's stuns is why it's up here. Demonology Warlock. Whew. My most favorite spec for Warlocks. In regards to raw DPS, Demonology is a definitely higher tier option. The big thing in favor of Demonology is their survivability because of Soul Leech, Unending, Resolve, Demon Skin, Dark Pact are incredible survival tools. Most groups will be playing with at least one priest for PIs, and pushes Demonology to the point to where their damage can be good, plus their survivability unmatched. So, if you have a Demonology Warlock and a Healer Priest, the Demonology Warlock is going to be unstoppable. So, Balanced Druid. Utility-wise, it's the best in the game. It brings a lot of utility. It brings Force of Nature, Typhoon, Your Soul's Vortex. I'm going to keep going. And Cascade and Roar, Solar Beam, Remove Corruption. That's a lot of utilities to bring to the table. Balanced Druid will continue to have a strong sustain AoE. And they're single target for Mythic Plus scenarios. Additionally, it's very tanky versus one shot with Bear Form, Mark of the Wild. Is arguably the best raid buff in Mythic Plus, as it gives 3% more damage to all players, plus 1.5% DR. So that's why that's up there. Outlaw Rogue, the rogue I play, is well known for their utility, because of Shroud of Concealment was mandatory. Outlaw's damage is a bit worse than you expect compared to the other options in A tier. However, when you look at all the dungeons, there are no large amount of dungeons that could go over Outlaw's 8-target cap facilitated by Dancing Steel. So that's a reason why its AoE is godly. But yeah, that's basically it. Enhancement Shaman. It's a spec that has a high amount of upsides. For one, it's the best DPS spec that brings Bloodlust. When coupled with Ancestral Guidance and Wind Shear, Cassipator Totem, and Thunderstruck, it's the best A tier. Its survivability is Astral Shift, which it has a very strong CD, but on fights that have one-shot capabilities, whenever Shift could be on a CD, then Enhance is very vulnerable. So you have to watch out for that. You do have access to Spirit Wolf, but going Wolf before a big hit feels awful. Brimming with Life is also a good HP-wise, but if you ever need to go use Reincarnation, you're in an awkward spot. Alright. Last A tier. Fire Mage. Fire is a spec that is at the top of A tier. It's the best. Their damage for AoE is the highest in the game. It's well played in overall dungeons. How does it have a big advantage? Well, because of Combustion. And this allows Ignite to do a lot of lifting AoE. This spec is mostly likely candidate to bring Bloodlust into the group. So, its defensive and utility is Ice Barrier, greater invisibility, Ultra Time, Mirror Image, Ice Block. And give mage buttons to every single situation. Cauterize is an addition to the fire mages to have. Now, last but not least, Shadow Priest, S tier, and the only S tier we got. Shadow Priest currently has the highest DPS in the game, and has a ridiculous, and when I say ridiculous utility, Mass Dispel. It's basically mandatory in HOI. Host of Infusion, Old Man, and very good in Underroot. On bursting weeks, as well as Mass Dispel is a utility you very much want. Additionally, Power Word Fortitude has a strong value. Vampiric Embrace, well, it did get nerfed, but it's still pretty good. Dispersion and their self-healing is in general very powerful. Its damage, utility, and survivability is S tier at the moment. Expect to see one of the most compositions, as correctly has a few downsides. You also have PIs. But yeah, that's Shadow Priest for you people. It's Power Word, it's Mass Dispel. It's all good, and you always love it when you got PI'd. When you get PI'd, you're like, huh, I'm the best. But yeah, that's Mythic Plus ranking for y'all guys. I'm gonna show y'all the list here. Hope y'all can see that. Can't see what y'all seeing. So yeah, like I said, worst Beastmaster and best Shadow Priest. Like and subscribe. Give any comments, or if you have any concerns, just drop a comment. But yeah, that's basically it, y'all. I'm going to try to upload tomorrow on gameplay a little bit, maybe a few some new classes I'm working on, and well, I see y'all guys then. Peace out.